The son of the cleaning woman answered a call from Germany. He was only 12 years old. He shouldn't have been there. He was just waiting for his mother to finish her shift. Minutes later, the $1 million SEO contract was safe, and that changed everything. Sophia adjusted her gloves for the third time before leaving home. It wasn't nervousness without reason. The extra shift during the day always went wrong. At night, she passed almost invisible. By day, everything was more exposed. The glances, the demands, the risk. Liam watched his mother in silence, sitting at the small kitchen table with his backpack resting between his feet. 12 years old, too much stillness for his age. He held a worn-out notebook, one of those that didn't draw anyone's attention, nor did he want it to. "It's just for today," Sophia said without looking at her son. The regular cleaning staff was absent, and they asked for a substitute. "Is there an important meeting there?" Liam nodded. He didn't ask anything. He had already learned that questions didn't pay overdue bills. The company building stood imposing from afar. Tall glass, mirrored facade, people rushing in, as if time there was more valuable than anywhere else in the city. Sophia took a deep breath before pushing through the revolving door. In the reception area, the air conditioning was too cold. The security guard asked for her ID, verified the name, and only then noticed Liam. "He's staying with me," Sophia said quickly before he could speak. The man frowned. "He can't wander around. Keep him in a corner, and don't let him touch anything." Sophia thanked him more than necessary. Liam didn't say a word. The elevator ascended in silence to the service floor. When the doors opened, the atmosphere was already different. People walking fast, tense voices, coffee cups piled on makeshift tables. It wasn't an ordinary day. "Stay there." Sophia pointed to a chair against the hallway wall. "Don't get up. Don't talk to anyone." Liam sat obediently, placed his backpack on his lap, and opened his notebook more out of habit than desire. The pages were filled with simple notes, loose words, some short phrases that no one there would recognize. They were in German, the language Grandma Elke had taught him since he was little. Sophia pushed the cleaning cart carefully, trying not to make noise. Still, a woman in high heels passed quickly and shot her a harsh look. "This isn't cleaning hours," she complained without stopping. "Excuse me," Sophia replied, lowering her head. Across the hallway, a large glass room caught their attention. Inside, well-dressed men and women spoke in low but urgent tones. One of them paced back and forth, cell phone in hand, expression tight. Daniel Thorne didn't shout. He didn't need to. His presence did the work for him. "Today can't go wrong," he said dryly. "If this contract falls through, the consequences will be severe." No one responded, only nodded. Sophia was cleaning the floor near the closed door when she overheard scattered words escaping the room. Germany, confirmation, deadline. She didn't understand the context, but she felt the weight. The kind of weight that makes the air denser. Liam also listened. Not everything, just enough to perceive that something serious was at stake. He lowered his eyes to his notebook again, ran his fingers over a pencil-written word, almost erased, something his grandma used to repeat at home, with a heavy accent and a sad smile. Liam slowly closed his notebook. The cleaning cart made a louder noise as it passed over a floor joint. "Can you be more careful?" someone complained from the end of the hallway. "Yes, sir," Sophia replied, flustered. Her body felt tense. Any mistake there seemed bigger than it really was. Any false step could cost her the shift or her job. An executive came out of the meeting room talking on the phone, face flushed, and almost collided with Liam. He stopped upon seeing him sitting there. "Is this a daycare now?" he commented loudly, eliciting uncomfortable chuckles from passers-by. Sophia heard, pretended not to. Liam felt his face burn but didn't react. He just lowered his head. Inside the room, tension mounted, papers scattered, people talking at the same time, someone saying time was running out. Daniel Thorne slammed the table once. "If no one resolves this, there's no point in any further discussion." The silence that followed was heavy. Sophia then received a quick order. "I need you to clean that support area now. There will be movement there." She nodded and pushed the cart towards the indicated space, near the most important rooms. Liam got up from the chair and followed a few steps behind, as his mother had taught him early on, without drawing attention, without taking up space. The hallway seemed smaller there, narrower, more guarded. The air carried a strange sensation, as if something were about to happen. Liam leaned against the wall, observing. Sophia cleaned quickly, her heart racing. Neither of them knew exactly what, but they both felt it. On that floor, something important hung by a thread, and they were right in the middle of it, even without being seen. The executive floor seemed to breathe poorly that morning. The air conditioning was working, but no one seemed comfortable. Coffee cups accumulated untouched on tables. Lit screens displayed graphs and numbers that no one had time to analyze calmly. The clock on the wall advanced cruelly. Daniel Thorne entered the meeting room without greeting anyone, took off his jacket, left it on the chair, and leaned his hands on the glass table. "Let's go again," he said directly. "I want this presentation perfect before the call." No one responded. They simply began to move. An analyst opened the slides. Another executive reorganized printed documents. A third adjusted the projector, as if that would solve anything. The problem wasn't the material, it was the time. "The German company has already postponed twice," Daniel Thorne continued. "Today is the final confirmation. Either we close, or they'll look for another partner." "Has the interpreter confirmed?" someone asked cautiously. Daniel Thorne shot a hard look. "He said he'd be available," he said. It wasn't the same as his. Everyone there knew it, but no one dared to say it aloud. Outside the room, Sophia cleaned the floor with quick movement. The cart squeaked softly, but it seemed too loud in that tense environment. She wiped the floor, pretending not to listen, but voices pierced through the glass. "Is the margin correct? If they question the clause, we're exposed." Legal has already reviewed this. Sophia didn't understand the terms, but she recognized the tone. It was the same tone as when money wasn't enough, when the wrong choice cost dearly. Liam observed from a distance. Leaning against the wall, he felt that this was not an ordinary day. The people there didn't speak loudly, but they spoke with urgency, as if any delay could bring down something too big to be rebuilt. An executive rushed out of the room with his cell phone to his ear. "I don't need him now," he said, trying to control his voice. "It's today, it can't be later." He hung up, frustrated, and went back inside. "The interpreter isn't answering," he reported in a low but audible voice. Daniel Thorne closed his eyes for a second, just one. When he opened them, his expression was even harder. "I don't care about the reason," he said. "Get someone. We could try a third-party service," a woman sitting in the back suggested. "I already tried," another replied. "The central office is out of service." An uncomfortable silence settled. "Then, improvise," Daniel Thorne said. "You knew last week this call was going to happen. We know English." Someone tried. Daniel Thorne tilted his head impatiently. "They don't want English. They want clarity, and they want it in German." From the hallway, Sophia moved a little away from the door. She didn't want to seem curious. She didn't want to seem present. She just needed to finish her work. "You're making too much noise," a man complained as he passed her, pointing at the cart. "Excuse me," Sophia said once more. Liam clenched his fists inside his backpack, saying nothing. In the room, tension increased as time passed. Someone opened a recent email and read aloud, translating roughly. "They say they need to confirm today, otherwise they'll close the process." Daniel Thorne leaned on the table again. "Listen closely," he said in a firm voice. "If this contract falls through, it won't just be a number on a report. There will be cutbacks. There will be consequences." No one moved. "I won't repeat it," he concluded. Outside, Sophia felt her stomach clench. That phrase wasn't spoken for her, but it hit just the same. Cutbacks, consequences, words she knew too well. An executive ran down the hallway, almost colliding with Liam. He didn't even apologize. Liam shrank a little further against the wall. "Mom," he called softly. "Not now," Sophia replied without looking. Liam slowly opened his notebook, not to study, but just to calm himself. He skimmed over some handwritten words, memories of afternoons spent at Grandma's house. Familiar sounds, intonations that didn't match this building but insisted on existing. In the room, someone tested the phone speaker. The sound echoed down the hallway for a few seconds before being turned off. "When they call, someone will have to answer," Daniel Thorne said. "And quickly." "But who?" the tense analyst asked. Daniel Thorne took a deep breath. "I don't know," he replied. "But someone will have to solve it." Outside, Sophia continued pushing the cart. Liam got up and followed her in silence. The hallway seemed even narrower there, quieter, as if the entire building was waiting for something to happen. Liam stopped near the wall, hugging his backpack. His heart beat fast, without knowing exactly why. Inside the room, Daniel Thorne looked at the clock. "They'll call any minute," he said. No one responded. The problem was set, and no one there seemed ready to solve it. The sound of the phone cut through the air in the room like an alarm. It wasn't loud, but it was insistent, a dry, repetitive sound that no one seemed to want to hear. Everyone looked at each other at the same time. Daniel Thorne was the first to react. "Answer it," he said without raising his voice. No one moved. The phone rang again. An analyst reached out with hesitation. as if the device might bite. She put it to her ear, listened for 2 seconds, and paled. "It's German," she said, covering the microphone. "They're already speaking." Daniel Thorne closed his eyes for an instant. When he opened them, he was visibly more tense. "Pass it to someone," he ordered. The analyst turned to her colleagues almost pleadingly. "Does anyone here understand?" Silence. "I recognize some words," a man ventured, "but I can't respond." The phone was still open. On the other end, the voice spoke quickly, without patience. "Hang up," someone suggested in a panic. Daniel Thorne slammed his hand on the table. "No," he said, "if we hang up, it's over." In the hallway, Sophia pushed the cleaning cart towards the support area indicated minutes before. She tried to move quickly, but nervousness hindered her. Each step seemed out of rhythm with that place. Liam walked a few steps behind, as always. He observed more than he walked. The sound of the voice pierced through the glass of the room and reached the hallway, muffled. It wasn't possible to understand everything, but the tone was clear, irritated, tired, definitive. Liam slowed his pace. The executive spoke again, now in English, with the phone still to her ear. "He's asking something I'm not clearly understanding," she said, almost whispering. "What exactly is missing for the contract?" Daniel Thorne asked dryly. She tried. "Excuse me," she began in English. The response came immediately, harsher. She pulled the phone away from her ear. "He said something like he doesn't want English," she explained. Daniel Thorne ran his hand over his face. "And the interpreter?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. "Still not answering," someone replied. The executive tried to keep the call alive, repeating vague phrases asking for a moment. As the seconds ticked by from the hallway, Liam stopped completely. The sound of the voice from the other end now came through the makeshift speaker, accidentally activated when the executive tried to change a setting. Liam understood a complete sentence, then another. His heart pounded. "Mom," he called softly. Sophia turned immediately, startled. "Not now, Liam." But the boy wasn't looking at his mother. He was looking towards the meeting room. "He's saying he's going to hang up," he murmured, not realizing he was speaking louder than he intended. Sophia felt the floor disappear. "Liam, be quiet," she whispered, almost in a panic, but someone in the room heard. "What?" one of the executives asked, opening the glass door. "Who said that?" Liam swallowed, feeling all eyes fall on him at once. "It was him," another asked, frowning. "The cleaning woman's son?" Sophia dropped the cloth into the cart. "Excuse me," she said quickly. "He doesn't know what he's saying." "Yes, I do," Liam replied in a thin voice. He said, "Hang up." The silence that formed was different from all the others that day. It wasn't tension, it was strangeness. Daniel Thorne approached the door, observing the boy as if he hadn't been there before. "Do you understand German?" he asked directly. Liam hesitated, looked at his mother. Sophia was pale. "A little," he replied. "I learned it with my grandma." "This isn't a game," an executive said. "We're talking about a multi-million-dollar contract." "I know," Liam replied, lowering his eyes. "That's why I spoke up." The phone was still open. The voice on the other end repeated something with increasing impatience. The executive held the device with both hands, unsure what to do. "Answer that," Daniel Thorne said suddenly. It wasn't a gentle request. It was a tired command. The executive extended the phone in his direction, but Daniel Thorne didn't take it. He looked at Liam. "You said you understand. Speak." "What is he saying now?" Liam took a deep breath. "He's asking if there's anyone there who speaks German," he replied. "And if not, he's going to hang up." One of the executives let out a nervous laugh. "This is absurd." Daniel Thorne didn't laugh. The phone made a small click on the other end. The call threatened to drop. Liam took a step forward without realizing it. "Can I answer?" he said. "No," someone replied immediately. "This is adult business. He's a child," another said. "This is crazy." Sophia felt her legs tremble. "Liam, come here," she pleaded, almost crying, but the phone chirped again. A brief warning. "Last chance," the voice on the other end said, now audible even to those who didn't understand German. Liam recognized the words, the tone, the decision. He looked at Daniel Thorne. "He's going to hang up," he said now. Daniel Thorne looked at the boy for 2 seconds too long. Then he looked around. He saw a room full of prepared, well-paid adults, unable to respond. "Let him speak," Daniel Thorne said at last. "But," someone began, "if it goes wrong, the responsibility is mine." He cut them off. "But if we hang up now, it's over anyway." The executive brought the phone to Liam, her hands trembling. The hallway seemed too small for that decision. Liam closed his eyes for a second. He remembered his grandma, the way she patiently corrected his pronunciation. He opened his eyes. "Good morning," he said in German. Almost perfect, with a voice too firm for a 1-2-year-old boy. Everyone froze, and the silence that followed was no longer one of fear. It was of shock. Liam's first response didn't come quickly. It came carefully. "Good morning," he repeated, a little firmer now. "One moment, please." The voice on the other end of the line stopped. Inside the room, no one moved. There was no audible celebration or astonishment, just that uncomfortable silence that arises when something unexpected happens and no one knows how to react. Daniel Thorne watched the boy intently. There was no emotion on his face. There was calculation, evaluation. He knew this was the kind of moment that could solve everything or make it definitively worse. "Ask what they need now," he said softly, almost as if he didn't want to be heard. Liam nodded slightly. He didn't look back. He didn't look for his mother. The phone trembled a little in his hand, but he kept his voice steady. "What else is needed for confirmation?" he asked in German. The answer came back too long. Liam frowned for an instant, not because he didn't understand, but because he needed to mentally organize what he was hearing. The terms were more technical than he was used to. He took a deep breath. "He's saying he needs to confirm 2 points," he translated, "a deadline and a clause about liability." A murmur went through the room. "What clause?" an executive asked, already opening a document. Liam returned to the phone and asked carefully. The man replied faster now, less aggressive, still impatient, but attentive. Liam listened until the end. "It's about delivery delays," he explained. "They want a formal written guarantee still today." Daniel Thorne made a quick gesture with his hand. "Tell him the legal department is already adjusting that and that we'll send the email in minutes." Liam nodded, but he hesitated before repeating. Something in the phrase needed to be adjusted. He knew it. "Wait," he said softly. "If I say it like that, it sounds like a vague promise." Daniel Thorne looked at him intently. "Then how would you say it?" Liam thought for 2 seconds. "I would say the document is already under final review and dispatch is scheduled," he replied. "Not, we'll try to." Daniel Thorne nodded slowly. "Makes sense." Liam returned to the phone. The answer came shorter. This time the tone on the other end had changed. It was no longer threatening. It was negotiating. Liam relaxed his shoulders a little without realizing it. "He wants to know who is speaking," he translated. One of the executives let out a nervous laugh. "Tell him it's—" someone began. Daniel Thorne interrupted. "Tell him your first name." Liam swallowed. "My name is Liam," he said. There was a pause. The response came softer than before. "He asked if I am responsible for the negotiation," he translated, confused. Daniel Thorne took a step closer. "Tell him you are assisting the responsible team," he instructed. Liam repeated, choosing his words carefully. The man responded with something Liam didn't understand immediately. A word escaped him. He closed his eyes for a second. "Can you repeat, please?" he asked in German, a little slower. The entire room held its breath. The repetition came clearer. Liam understood. "He wants the name of who is signing the contract," he said, looking at Daniel Thorne. "Me," he replied without hesitation. Liam informed him. The conversation continued for a few more minutes. They weren't long, but they seemed eternal to those watching from outside. Liam didn't make speeches. He didn't try to impress. He just responded, translated, confirmed. At one point, he almost got confused with a legal term. He stopped mid-sentence. "Wait," he said softly, covering the microphone with his hand. "Confirm this part for me." A lawyer quickly approached, pointed to the document. "That's right." Liam nodded and resumed. On the other end of the line, the man took a deep breath. "Liam," he heard it clearly. "He said he'll wait for the email," he translated, "and if he receives it today, the process continues." Daniel Thorne signaled to the legal department. Now Liam's last sentence came out calm. "We will confirm in writing within a few minutes. Thank you for your patience." He pulled the phone away from his ear. The dry click of the finished call resonated louder than it should have. For a few seconds, no one said anything. There was no applause, no celebration, just people looking at each other, trying to understand what had just happened. "Who is this child?" someone murmured, almost voicelessly. Liam felt the weight of the silence fall upon him. The phone was still in his hand. He returned it to the executive carefully, as if it were something too fragile. "Can I go?" he asked softly. Sophia took a step forward immediately. "We're leaving now," she said hastily, her voice trembling. Daniel Thorne raised his hand. "One moment," he asked. Sophia froze. Daniel Thorne looked at Liam again. Now there was no calculation. There was something more difficult to define. You said you learned it with your grandma, he commented. Liam nodded. Yes, sir, I want to understand that better, he said afterwards, choosing his words. Liam nodded, not knowing if that was good or bad. Outside the room, the legal department was already typing frantically. The contract was not yet closed, but it was not lost, and everyone there knew it. Nothing would be the same after that moment. The sun no longer entered with the same force through the windows when Sophia finished the last hallway. The building was quieter. The morning rush was behind them, replaced by a contained weariness, the kind that comes after prolonged tension. Liam was sitting in one of the chairs in the support area, hugging his backpack to his chest. He didn't speak. Since they had left the meeting room, no one had said exactly what was going to happen. They only knew that they hadn't been fired yet. Are you okay? Sophia asked softly as she put the cloth back in the cart. Liam nodded without much conviction. I'm fine. In reality, he couldn't say. His body was there, but his head was still trapped in that moment when all the adults had stopped to listen to him. He didn't like that feeling. He didn't like being the center of attention, much less in that place. An assistant appeared a few minutes later. Mr. Thorne asked you to wait, he said in a neutral tone. He'll call you shortly. Sophia felt her stomach churn. Now? She asked faintly. The man walked away without waiting for an answer. Sophia sat next to her son, ran a hand through his hair in an automatic gesture, trying to calm herself more than the child. Whatever God wants, she murmured. Liam didn't respond. He thought of his grandma, of the way she said that when one does something right, one doesn't always understand why at the moment, but understands later. Almost an hour passed until the same assistant returned. You can come in. Daniel Thorne's office was smaller than Liam imagined. It was nothing grand. An overly tidy desk, 2 chairs in front, a window overlooking the city, a functional, cold, but not hostile space. Daniel Thorne was without his jacket, his shirt sleeves rolled up. He seemed more tired than powerful. You can sit, he said, gesturing to the chairs. Sophia sat carefully, as if she were occupying a place that didn't belong to her. Liam sat beside her, keeping his hands on his backpack. For a few seconds, no one said anything. I said a while ago that I wanted to understand better, Daniel Thorne began, breaking the silence. And I still do, but not to reproach, but to comprehend. Sophia clasped her fingers. We didn't mean to cause any trouble, she said quickly. I know I shouldn't have brought my son, but it was just for today. It was a favor I asked. Daniel Thorne raised his hand, interrupting. It's not about that, he said. That's in the past. He turned his gaze back to Liam. You seem very young to carry that kind of responsibility, he commented. Liam shrugged. I didn't want responsibility, he replied. I just didn't want it to go wrong. Daniel Thorne nodded slowly. You spoke of your grandma, he said. Tell me calmly. Liam took a deep breath. He didn't like talking about that part of his life with strangers, but something in Daniel Thorne's tone wasn't invasive. It was attentive. She came from Germany when she was young, he began. She got married here, but she never truly felt from here. Sophia watched in silence. That story wasn't new, but hearing her son tell it gave it another dimension. She used to say that if she stopped speaking German, she would disappear, Liam continued. So she talked to me all the time about simple things, about the day, about nostalgia. Daniel Thorne listened without interrupting. I stayed with her almost every night, Liam said. My mom worked. We ate dinner together. She taught me words as one teaches affection. Liam hesitated for an instant before continuing. When she got sick, she stopped leaving the house, he said. But she kept talking to me, even when she was tired, even when she was weak. Sophia swallowed. She was the one who stayed when Liam's father left, she added. We supported each other as best we could. Daniel Thorne looked away towards the window for a moment. Is she still alive? He asked. No, Liam replied in a thin voice. 2 years ago. The silence that followed was not uncomfortable. It was respectful. So, Daniel Thorne said, looking back at him, you didn't learn German to use it. You learned it not to lose someone. Liam nodded. I think so. Daniel Thorne took a deep breath, crossed his hands on the desk. Today, everyone in that room was prepared, he said. Diplomas, positions, experience, and yet no one could resolve it. He paused. You could because you listened before, for a long time. Sophia felt her eyes well up, but she said nothing. I don't believe in coincidences, Daniel Thorne continued. I believe in contexts, and your context is tough. He leaned back in his chair. I still need to finish some things today, he said, but I want to make one thing clear. Sophia stiffened. What happened will not be ignored, he affirmed. Not as a favor, not as charity. Liam clutched the strap of his backpack. I don't want anything, he said quickly. Daniel Thorne smiled slightly. Not an easy smile, a tired smile. I know, he replied. And that's precisely why I want to think calmly about what comes next. He stood up. I'll call you again tomorrow, or the day after, he said unhurriedly, without alarm. Sophia also stood up, uncertain. Thank you for not, she began, not knowing how to finish. For seeing, he completed. She nodded. Daniel Thorne opened the door. Sometimes, he said, one only realizes what one has when one almost loses it. In the hallway, Sophia and Liam walked together in silence. The building seemed different now, not less cold, but changed. Mom, Liam said, already near the elevator. Did I do well? Sophia stopped. She looked at her son firmly. You did well, she replied, even if nothing else happens. Liam took a deep breath. He didn't know what would come next. But for the first time since morning, he didn't feel afraid of what he had done. The next morning, the company woke up differently, not calmer, just less chaotic. The crisis had not been forgotten, but it had been contained. The German contract still required adjustments, revisions, signatures. Nothing was officially closed. Still, no one spoke of collapse anymore. Daniel Thorne arrived early, before most. He entered the building without lengthy greetings, as he always did, but something about him was off-pattern. It wasn't anxiety, it was discomfort. He walked straight past reception and up to his office. He took his cell phone from his pocket and reread the email sent the previous night. The confirmation from the German partners was objective, without praise, without enthusiasm, just professional. That's how it worked in the real world. It always had. Still, Daniel Thorne couldn't get an image out of his head. A boy sitting in a hallway holding an old backpack, while well-prepared adults stumbled in the face of a problem too simple to be ignored. He closed his laptop harder than he intended. Shortly after, he called the legal department, asked for the report, reviewed details, confirmed that everything was being done on schedule. When he finished, he rested his elbows on the desk and remained there, still for a few seconds. It wasn't common for him. Sophia arrived for her extra shift at the usual time. She didn't comment on anything to anyone. She put on her uniform, took her cart, and started work as if nothing had happened. That's how she survived, not creating expectations, but the glances had changed. An executive greeted her with a nod. A man made space in the hallway without complaining. Small gestures, nothing explicit, yet different. Sophia noticed it. She pretended not to notice. Liam wasn't there that day. School had resumed. His notebook was now on a simple desk in a common classroom, while his mother traversed hallways that until yesterday seemed unreachable. Mid-morning, Daniel Thorne left his office and walked around the floor. He didn't announce his presence. He just observed. He saw focused executives, others tense, some oblivious. He passed through the support area, where the day before Sophia had pushed the cart with too much haste. He stopped there for an instant. "Sophia," he called. She turned immediately, her heart accelerating. "Yes, sir." Daniel Thorne noticed the reflex. That wasn't respect, it was trained fear. "Can you come with me for a minute?" he asked. Sophia hesitated only long enough to put down the cloth. Of course. They walked to a small room away from the main area. It wasn't a meeting room. It was almost a little, used secondary office. "Sit," Daniel Thorne said, pointing to the chair. Sophia sat carefully. "I won't take up much of your time," he began. "I just need to clarify a few things." She remained silent. "Yesterday," Daniel Thorne said, "you apologized several times before anyone said anything." Sophia clasped her hands in her lap. "It's a habit," she replied. "You learn to anticipate." Daniel Thorne remained silent for a few seconds. "Why did you bring your son?" he asked, without harshness. Sophia took a deep breath. "Because I had no option," she replied. "School was closed. I needed the extra shift, and I needed to keep my job." Daniel Thorne nodded slowly. "You knew that could cost you your job." "I know," she said. "But sometimes the risk already exists, even if you don't choose it." The answer hung in the air. "You never spoke about what your son knows," Daniel Thorne commented. "I never thought it mattered," Sophia replied. "Not for this kind of place." Daniel Thorne leaned back in his chair. "This kind of place," he repeated. "That's what bothers me." He leaned forward slightly. "Yesterday, a room full of professionals got stuck," he said. "Not due to incompetence, but due to structure, due to habit, due to assuming that certain resources always come from the same places." Sophia didn't respond. "Your son didn't save a contract," Daniel Thorne continued. "He saved a conversation because he listened before, because he wasn't afraid to seem small. Sophia felt her eyes burn, but she maintained her posture. "It wasn't luck," he said. "It was character and attention." Daniel Thorne stood up. "I'm not going to pretend this didn't happen," he affirmed, "and I'm not going to turn it into a spectacle." He walked to the door, then turned back to her. "I know I already said it, but I want you and your son to come back here another day, calmly, outside of your shift, to talk properly." Sophia's stomach clenched. "If it's two," she began. "It's not dismissal." He cut her off, nor a warning. She looked at him suspiciously. "I need to think," Daniel Thorne continued. "And you need to understand what this means." Sophia stood up. "Thank you for calling me," she said, not knowing if that was good or bad. Daniel Thorne opened the door. "Sometimes," he said, "a company needs to be confronted to remember who is within it." Sophia left the room with a heavy but different heart. Not relieved, not hopeful, just attentive. At the end of her shift, she called Liam. "He wants to talk to us again," she said. "Is it a good thing?" her son asked from the other end. Sophia looked towards the building before answering. "I still don't know," she said, "but it's serious." Liam was silent for a few seconds. "Then it's okay," he replied. "We'll go together." Sophia hung up and took a deep breath. Some doors don't open suddenly, they creak first, and Daniel Thorne knew it. If he ignored that creak, he wouldn't be saving a contract, he would be losing something much greater. Daniel Thorne didn't schedule the conversation for the next day, nor did he let too much time pass. He waited just long enough for the dust to settle, but not so long that it seemed forgotten. 3 days later, he asked for Sophia to be contacted. "Mr. Thorne would like to speak with you and your son," the voice on the other end of the line said. "It can be tomorrow afternoon." Sophia hung up with the strange feeling of someone stepping on unstable ground. It wasn't a formal summons, nor was it kindness. It was something in between, and that kept her on alert. The next day, she arrived earlier than agreed. She wore the same simple clothes as always, but she had spent more time than usual choosing them. Liam walked beside her, backpack on his back, expression closed. He wasn't scared, he was suspicious. They were led to a smaller room, away from the meeting areas and the busiest hallways. A neutral space with a simple table, 3 chairs, and a side window. Daniel Thorne was already there when they entered. "Thank you for coming," he said, standing up. "Please sit." There was no exaggerated formality, nor was there intimacy, just clarity. Daniel Thorne waited for them to settle, before continuing. "I've thought a lot since that day," he began, not just about the contract, but about what happened around it. Sophia kept her hands clasped in her lap. Liam looked at the table. "What your son did was not common," he said. "But it wasn't a miracle either. It was a consequence." Liam looked up, confused. "Consequence of what?" he asked. "Of time," Daniel Thorne replied. "Of listening, of attention, of something that isn't usually valued in environments like this." He took a deep breath before continuing. "I don't want to turn this into a nice story," he continued. "It doesn't seem fair to you or to me," Sophia swallowed. "So I'm going to be direct." He opened a folder and placed some papers on the table. "Liam, you are 12 years old. You are not an adult. You are not an employee, and you should not carry responsibilities that are not yours." Liam nodded slowly. "Therefore," Daniel Thorne said, "any proposal I make is not about now. It's about what comes next." He slid one of the papers towards them. "I want to offer you a scholarship that includes strong language instruction," he explained, "German included, with materials, transportation, and pedagogical support." Liam's eyes widened. "I didn't ask for this," he said quickly. "I know," Daniel Thorne replied. "That's why I'm offering it." Sophia felt her heart pound. "And it's not a favor," he continued. "It's an investment, because talent without structure gets lost." Liam bit his lower lip. "I don't want my mom to have problems because of me," he said. Daniel Thorne turned to Sophia. "Your mom won't have problems," he affirmed. On the contrary, he took out another document. "Sophia, I don't know exactly how your current contract works," he said, "but I know it's not fair." Sophia felt her face burn. "I work nights," she replied. "I take extra shifts when they call, and you live on the edge," he completed. "That's not sustainable either," he explained, carefully outlining the options. "Shift adjustment, permanent hiring on a dedicated team, basic benefits, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that seemed like a prize. I'm not offering money in exchange for what happened," he said. "I'm offering dignity so you don't have to choose between working and protecting your son." Silence filled the room. Liam looked at his mother. Sophia didn't know what to say. All of it seemed too big to absorb at once. "I don't know if I can accept," Sophia finally said. "I've never received anything like this." Daniel Thorne nodded. "Accepting isn't begging," he replied. It's recognizing that someone saw value where before there was only function. Liam clutched the strap of his backpack. "My grandma," he began, hesitating. "She would have liked this." Daniel Thorne smiled slightly. "I imagine so." He leaned back in his chair. "I don't need an answer now," he said. "Think about it, discuss it, come back when you want." Sophia took a deep breath. "And if we say no?" she asked. "Then nothing changes," he replied. "But I hope you don't say no." Liam was silent for a few seconds, then looked up. "If I accept," he said, "it's because I want to learn, not because one day I answered a phone." Daniel Thorne nodded. "That's exactly what I hope for." When they left the room, the hallway seemed less hostile, not more welcoming, just human. Sophia walked slowly, as if she was still afraid that someone would say that it had all been a mistake. In the elevator, Liam broke the silence. "Mom," he said, "if we accept, life is going to change." Sophia thought before responding. "It's going to change," she said. "But not because someone wanted it to, but because you opened a door that already existed." Liam leaned his head against the elevator glass. He didn't know exactly what would come next, but he knew one thing. He wouldn't return to the same place as before. The following days were strange. Sophia continued her routine as if nothing had changed, because in practice, it hadn't changed yet. She arrived at her shift, cleaned the hallways, avoided glances, but something inside her was stirring. A silent hope she didn't dare to name. Liam also felt that strangeness. At school, his classmates talked about everyday things, video games, TV shows, unimportant gossip, and he felt he carried something different. Now it wasn't pride, it was a weight. The weight of having done something important without having planned it. One afternoon, when Sophia came home after her shift, she found Liam sitting on the sofa with his notebook open, but he wasn't writing, he was just looking at the pages. "What's wrong?" she asked, putting her bag on the table. Liam took a moment to respond. "I was thinking about Grandma," he said, "about everything she taught me." Sophia sat beside him. "She would be proud." Liam nodded. "But I don't know if I deserve all this." Sophia looked at him fixedly. "It's not about deserving, Liam. It's about taking advantage of the opportunity." He lowered his gaze. "I'm afraid of disappointing." Sophia ran a hand through her son's hair. "We all have fears," she replied. "But fear is not a reason not to try." Liam closed his notebook. "Are you going to accept what Mr. Thorne offered?" he asked. Sophia took a deep breath. "I still don't know," she admitted. "But I think it would be foolish not to." "Then let's do it," Liam said. "Together." Sophia smiled. "Together," she repeated. 2 days later, Sophia called the number Daniel Thorne had given her. The voice on the other end connected her directly to him. "Good morning, Sophia," Daniel Thorne said. "Have you thought about it?" "Yes," she replied. "We want to accept." There was a brief pause on the other end. "I'm glad to hear that," he said. "I'll start organizing everything. Can you come on Monday?" "Yes, sir," Sophia replied. When she hung up, she felt her hands tremble, not from fear, but from something akin to hope. Liam was in his room when she entered. "It's done," she said. "We accepted." Liam looked up. "And now?" "Now," Sophia said. "We start anew." The weekend passed slowly. Sophia tried to stay calm, but anxiety dominated her. She cleaned the house more than necessary, organized things that were already organized. She cooked with more attention than usual. Liam, for his part, spent hours rereading his notebook. His grandma's words seemed more alive now, more real, as if she were there guiding him. On Sunday evening, Sophia sat with Liam at the kitchen table. "I want you to know something," she said. "What's coming won't be easy." Liam nodded. "I know. There will be people who think, we don't deserve this," she continued. "That it was luck, that it was a coincidence." Liam looked at her fixedly. "And what do you think?" Sophia smiled slightly. "I think we've worked hard all our lives. And this isn't a gift. It's recognition." Liam nodded. "Then it's okay." Monday arrived with a strange clarity. The sky was clear, the air fresh. Sophia dressed with more care than usual. Not elegant clothes, just clean, ironed, dignified. Liam also prepared. He put his notebook in his backpack, as he always did. He didn't know if he would need it, but it gave him security to carry it. They arrived at the building before the agreed time. The security guard recognized them this time. "Good morning," he said with a brief smile. Sophia nodded, surprised. "Good morning." They went up to Daniel Thorne's office floor. This time there was no tension in the air, only anticipation. When they entered, Daniel Thorne was already waiting for them. He had several documents on his desk, all precisely organized. "Sit down," he said. "We'll review everything calmly." They spent the next hour going over details. The school for Liam, the contract change for Sophia, the benefits, the schedules, the responsibilities. Everything was explained clearly, without fine print, without tricks. "Do you have any questions?" Daniel Thorne asked at the end. Sophia hesitated before speaking. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "Really?" Daniel Thorne leaned back in his chair. "Because that day I realized something," he replied. "This company has resources, it has skilled people, it has structure, but we almost lost everything because we didn't know how to see what was right in front of us." He looked at Liam. "Your son didn't just solve a problem. He showed me that talent is everywhere. Sometimes we just don't look for it in the right places." Sophia felt her eyes well up. "Thank you," she said simply. Daniel Thorne nodded. "Don't thank me yet. The real work begins now." Liam looked at the documents on the table. "When do I start at the new school?" he asked. "Next week," Daniel Thorne replied. "They're already aware of your arrival." Liam nodded, feeling the weight of reality. It was real. It was happening. Sophia signed the papers with a trembling hand. Each signature seemed to close one stage and open another. When she finished, Daniel Thorne extended his hand. "Welcome to the permanent team," he said. Sophia shook his hand, feeling for the first time in a long time that she wasn't invisible. Liam also signed the scholarship documents. His signature was small, shaky, but it was there. When they left the office, the world seemed different. Nothing had changed on the street, in the building, in the city, but something inside them was different. In the elevator, Sophia hugged her son. "We did it," she whispered. Liam nodded against his mother's shoulder. "We did it," he repeated. When the elevator doors opened, they walked out together onto the street. The sun shone brighter. Now the city seemed clearer, more alive. Sophia took a deep breath. For the first time in years, she wasn't afraid of tomorrow. Liam walked beside her, backpack on his back, looking ahead. He didn't know exactly what awaited him, but he knew he wasn't alone, and that was enough. That night, Sophia called her sister to tell her everything. The conversation lasted more than an hour. There were tears, laughter, disbelief. When she hung up, Sophia sat on the sofa and looked around. The house was the same, small, modest, with walls that needed painting, but now it seemed different. It seemed like a starting point, not a limit. Liam was in his room writing in his notebook, not German words this time, but thoughts in English, reflections on what had happened, on what was to come. He wrote about his grandma, about how she had given him something without knowing it. Not just a language, but the ability to listen, to pay attention, not to be afraid. He closed his notebook and put it in his backpack. Tomorrow would be the beginning of something new, and he was ready. Liam's first week at the new school was harder than he had imagined, not because the classes were complicated, but because everything was different. The hallways were wider. The classrooms had better lighting. The desks didn't creak when you sat down. Even the smell was different, a mix of new books and expensive cleaning products. Liam arrived on the first day with the worn backpack he had used for years. Sophia had wanted to buy him a new one, but he refused. "I don't need to change everything at once," he had said, and she understood him. The principal received him personally. "Welcome, Liam," she said with a professional smile. "I hope you feel comfortable here." Liam nodded without saying much. The woman led him to his classroom, a spacious area with large windows that let in natural light. The other students were already seated, chatting among themselves with familiarity. When he entered, some turned to look at him. Others didn't even look up. "Class, we have a new classmate," the teacher announced. "Liam, you can sit there in the back by the window." Liam walked between the desks, feeling every gaze. He sat in silence, took out his worn notebook, and placed it on the table. A boy next to him looked at him with curiosity, but said nothing. The class began. It was math, a subject Liam knew well, but he didn't participate. He kept his head down, took notes, tried to go unnoticed. It was his strategy, the one that had always worked. At recess, he stayed in the classroom, while the others ran out to the playground. He wasn't hungry. He didn't feel like socializing. He just wanted the day to end. A girl approached him before leaving. "Aren't you going out?" she asked. Liam shook his head. "I'm fine here." The girl shrugged. "As you wish. I'm Chloe, by the way." "Liam," he replied, although she already knew. Chloe left, and Liam was left alone. He looked out the window at the playground. Groups of students chatted, laughed, shared food. Everyone seemed to have known each other for years. Everyone seemed to belong. He didn't. The afternoon passed slowly. More classes, more glances, more silence. When the dismissal bell finally rang, Liam was the first to get up. He quickly packed his things and left without saying goodbye. Sophia was waiting for him at the school gate. She had asked for permission from work to be there. When she saw her son come out, she immediately noticed the expression on his face. "How was it?" she asked as they walked towards the bus stop. "Good," Liam replied without looking at her. Sophia knew it wasn't true, but she didn't insist. Give him time, she thought. He just needs time. That night, Liam barely touched his dinner, locked himself in his room, and opened his notebook. He wrote a single sentence: "I don't know if I belong here." The following days were similar. Liam attended classes, paid attention, did his homework, but didn't speak to anyone, didn't ask questions, didn't raise his hand even if he knew the answers. The teachers began to notice. In the staff room, they commented on the new boy who was intelligent but too quiet. "We should talk to him," one suggested. "Give him time," another replied. "It's normal for him to be nervous." But Sophia couldn't remain calm. She saw her son closing himself off more each day. She saw how he returned home with the same empty expression, how he pretended everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. One night after dinner, she sat in front of him. "Liam, we need to talk," she said. He looked up from his notebook. "About what?" "About school. About how you're really feeling." Liam sighed. "I'm fine, Mom. Don't lie to me," Sophia said firmly. "I know you. I know when something is bothering you." Liam lowered his gaze. "It's not that something is bothering me," he said slowly. "It's just that I don't fit in." Sophia felt her chest tighten. "Why do you say that?" "Because everyone there comes from different families," Liam explained. "They have new clothes, expensive cell phones. They talk about trips and things I've never had. And I'm the cleaning woman's son." Sophia felt tears well up, but she held them back. "Listen to me closely," she said, taking her son's hands. "You are not less than anyone because of that. You earned your place in that school because you have talent, because you have dedication." Liam shook his head. "No one sees me that way. Mom, they see me as the poor kid who got lucky." Sophia squeezed his hands, then proved them wrong. Liam looked at her, confused. "How?" "By being yourself," she replied. "Not hiding, not pretending to be someone you're not, showing what you know, what you can do." Liam didn't respond, but something in his eyes changed slightly. The next day, Liam arrived at school with the same worn backpack, the same simple clothes, but something in his posture was different. He didn't walk with his head so low. In German class, the teacher asked for volunteers to read a text aloud. No one raised their hand. Everyone looked at the book with confused expressions. The teacher sighed. "No one wants to try?" Silence. Liam felt his heart beat faster. He remembered his mother's words. He remembered his grandma's voice. He remembered that day in the building when he had to decide whether to speak or remain silent. He raised his hand. The teacher looked at him, surprised. "Liam, do you want to try?" Liam nodded. "Yes." He stood up, took the book, and began to read. His pronunciation was perfect, fluid, natural. The words came out effortlessly, with the correct accent, with precise intonation. The room fell silent. Everyone looked at him now, but not with mockery or superficial curiosity. They looked at him with genuine astonishment. When he finished, the teacher applauded. "Excellent, Liam. Truly excellent. Where did you learn to speak like that?" "With my grandma," Liam replied simply. The teacher nodded, impressed. "It shows you learned from someone who really knew the language. She was a native speaker, wasn't she?" "Yes," Liam said. "From Berlin." During recess, several students approached him. Chloe was the first. "That was amazing," she said. "Seriously, you speak German that well?" Liam shrugged. "Yeah, I guess. Can you teach me?" she asked. "I'm failing that class." Liam hesitated. "I'm not a teacher," he said. "But you speak better than the teacher," she insisted. "Please." Liam looked around. Other students also seemed interested. "Okay," he finally said. "I can help you." Chloe smiled. "Thanks. Let's have lunch together." Liam nodded. "Sure." For the first time since he had arrived at that school, he didn't eat lunch alone. He sat with Chloe and two other students who also had difficulties with German. They talked about the class, about the teacher, about the assignments. It wasn't a magical transformation. Liam still felt out of place in many aspects, but it was a beginning. That afternoon, when Sophia picked him up, she immediately noticed the change. Liam wasn't smiling broadly, but he also didn't have that empty expression from the previous days. "How was today?" she asked. "Better," Liam replied. "Much better," Sophia smiled. "I'm glad to hear that." On the bus ride home, Liam told her about German class, about how he had read aloud, about how the other students had approached him. Sophia listened with a full heart. This was the son she knew, the one who wasn't afraid to show what he knew, the one who helped without expecting anything in return. When they arrived home, Liam took out his notebook and crossed out the sentence he had written days earlier. "I don't know if I belong here." Below it, he wrote a new one. "I'm still finding my place, but I will find it." The following weeks brought more changes. Liam began to participate more in class, not only in German but in all subjects. The teachers noticed his intelligence, his dedication, his analytical skills. In math, he solved a problem that no one else had been able to. In history, he gave a presentation on German immigration to Canada that impressed the entire class. In literature, he wrote an essay on the importance of preserving mother tongues that the teacher read aloud as an example. Little by little, Liam stopped being the new kid to simply become Liam, the brilliant student, the classmate willing to help, the one who spoke German as if he had been born there. But not everything was easy. There were moments of doubt, days when he felt exhausted by the effort of constantly demonstrating his worth, nights when he wondered if he would ever be enough. One afternoon, after a particularly difficult exam, he came home quieter than usual. Sophia noticed immediately. "What happened?" she asked. Liam dropped his backpack on the sofa. "Nothing," he said. "I'm just tired." Sophia sat beside him. "It's more than that," Liam sighed. "Sometimes I feel like I have to be perfect," he admitted, as if any mistake would confirm what some people think, that I shouldn't be here. Sophia took his face in her hands. "Listen closely," she said, looking him in the eyes. "You don't have to be perfect. No one is. All you have to do is your best. And you're already doing that." Liam felt tears well up. "It's hard, Mom." "I know," she replied. "But look at everything you've already achieved. Look how far you've come." Liam nodded, letting the tears fall. Sophia hugged him tightly, letting him vent. When they pulled apart, Liam wiped his face. "Thank you, Mom. Always," she replied. That night, Liam wrote a long reflection in his notebook about pressure, about expectations, about the fear of failure, but also about gratitude, about opportunities, about his mother's love, and his grandmother's memory. He finished with a sentence he would repeat to himself on difficult days. "I don't need to be perfect. I just need to be authentic." At the end of the first month, the school organized a cultural presentation. Each student had to share something about their heritage or interests. Many chose elaborate presentations with videos and music. Liam chose something simpler. He stood in front of the class and recited a poem in German that his grandma used to tell him. He recited it slowly, with emotion, his voice cracking slightly in some parts. When he finished, there was a profound silence. Then, applause. Chloe approached him afterwards. "That was beautiful," she said, her eyes shining. "Your grandma would be proud." Liam smiled. "I hope so." That afternoon, when Sophia came to pick him up, Liam ran towards her with a genuine smile. "Mom," he said, "I think I finally found my place." Sophia hugged him tightly. "You always had it," she replied. "You just needed time to see it." They walked together to the bus stop, talking about the day, about the presentation, about plans for the weekend. For the first time in a long time, both felt at peace. The road hadn't been easy. There would still be challenges ahead, but now they knew something fundamental. They weren't alone, and that made all the difference. As Liam adapted to his new school reality, Sophia faced her own transformation. The switch from night to day shift had been more significant than she imagined, not only because of the recovered sleep hours but because of everything it represented. For the first time in years, she could walk through the company's hallways in daylight. She could see the faces of the people she shared the building with. She could feel that she existed, not just as a shadow passing by at night, cleaning up what others dirtied. But the transition wasn't simple. On her first day on the permanent shift, Sophia arrived at the building with a mix of nervousness and hope. The security guard greeted her differently this time. "Good morning, Sophia," he said, using her name. "You have your new ID at reception." Sophia nodded, still unaccustomed to being recognized. "Thank you." At reception, a woman handed her the new ID. "This is permanent," she explained. "You no longer need to renew it every month." Sophia took the card with trembling hands. It was a small thing, but for her, it meant stability. It meant she wasn't temporary, that they couldn't fire her overnight without reason. She went up to the service floor where she would now be based. Her supervisor was waiting there, a middle-aged man named Mike, who had been with the company for 20 years. "Welcome to the team, Sophia," he said, extending his hand. "We'll work well together." Sophia shook his hand. "Thank you for the opportunity." Mike showed her the newly assigned areas. He explained the schedules, routines, expectations. Everything was more organized than before, more structured. It was no longer a matter of showing up when called and doing what was urgent. Now there was a plan, a system, a rhythm. "You'll notice we work differently here," Mike said as they walked. "It's not just about cleaning, it's about maintaining, anticipating, caring for the spaces." Sophia listened attentively, absorbing every word. "I understand. And another thing," he continued. "Here, we all treat each other with respect. No matter the position, no matter the title, we are a team." Sophia felt something loosen in her chest, something that had been tight for so long she no longer noticed it. It was the constant fear, the always being on alert, expecting mistreatment as something normal. "Thank you," she said simply because she couldn't find other words. The first few days were for adaptation. Sophia met her new colleagues, 3 other members of the cleaning team, who worked the same shift, 2 women and a man, all with years of experience. At first, they were cautious with her. They knew she had arrived differently, that her story was unique, but Sophia didn't expect special treatment. She worked hard, arrived early, stayed until everything was done. One of her colleagues, a woman named Sarah, approached her after the first week. "You work well," she commented as they organized their carts. "You don't wait for others to do your part." Sophia shrugged. "That's how I was taught." Sarah smiled. "It shows. By the way, some of us have coffee before the shift. If you want to join, you're welcome." Sophia felt something warm spread in her chest. "I'd like that," she replied. It was a simple gesture, a casual invitation, but for Sophia, it meant acceptance. It meant she wasn't just the one Daniel Thorne helped, but another colleague. Mornings began to have a new rhythm. Sophia got up early, prepared breakfast for Liam, walked him to the bus stop, and then took her own to work. She arrived 15 minutes before her shift. She had coffee with Sarah and the others, chatting about everyday things. It was a normal life, and for Sophia, who had never had a truly normal life, that was extraordinary. But not everything was easy. There were still glances, still whispers. "That's the woman they're talking about," Sophia heard one day as she walked down a hallway. "The one the boss helped." "Yes," another voice replied. "Because of the son who saved the German contract." Sophia tightened her grip on the cart handle and kept walking. She didn't stop, didn't look back, but the words kept echoing. That night, while having dinner with Liam, he noticed her silence. "Are you okay, Mom?" he asked. Sophia nodded. "Just tired." But Liam knew her too well. "It's more than that." Sophia sighed. "Sometimes I hear what people say," she admitted, "about us, about how we got here." Liam put down his fork. "What do they say? That it was luck? That it was a favor? That it's not based on merit?" Sophia explained. "And even though I know it's not true, sometimes words weigh heavily." Liam looked at his mother with a maturity that didn't correspond to his 12 years. "You know what I learned at school?" he said. "That people will always have opinions, but all that matters is what you know about yourself." Sophia smiled, her eyes moist. "When did you get so wise?" "When I had a mom who taught me not to give up," he replied. Sophia reached her hand across the table, and Liam took it. They both remained like that for a moment, in silence, reminding each other that they were not alone. Days turned into weeks. Sophia began to feel more comfortable in her new role. She knew the spaces better, anticipated needs, worked efficiently. Mike regularly complimented her on her performance. One day, while cleaning near the executive offices, she saw Daniel Thorne leave a meeting. He noticed her and approached. "Sophia, how are you doing?" he asked. "Fine, sir," she replied. "Thank you." Daniel Thorne shook his head. "Don't thank me. You earned this." Sophia nodded, but something in her expression made Daniel Thorne pause. "Is something wrong?" he asked. Sophia hesitated before answering. "Sometimes I wonder if people think I don't deserve to be here," she admitted, that it was only because Liam helped that day. Daniel Thorne looked at her fixedly. "And what do you think?" Sophia took a deep breath. "I think I've worked my whole life, that I've been responsible, dedicated, that I've never been absent without reason, that I deserve stability as much as anyone." "Exactly," Daniel Thorne said. "And if anyone thinks differently, that's their problem, not yours." Sophia felt something strengthen inside her. "You're right." Daniel Thorne nodded. "Keep working as you are. The results speak for themselves." When he walked away, Sophia stood still for a moment. Then she returned to her work, but now with her back a little straighter, her head a little higher. That afternoon, Sarah invited her to lunch with the team in the staff cafeteria. It was the first time Sophia had entered there as a permanent employee. Before, when she did sporadic night shifts, she ate alone in a corner. Quickly, without drawing attention, now she sat at a table with her colleagues, chatting, laughing. They talked about their families, their weekend plans, their everyday concerns. "My daughter wants a dog," Sarah said. "But we live in a small apartment. Mine wants to go to a concert," another commented. "But the tickets are so expensive." Sophia listened more than she spoke, but she felt part of something. It was a new feeling, warm, comforting. "And your son?" Sarah asked. "How is he doing at the new school?" Sophia smiled. "Well, he had a difficult start, but now he's finding his place. He's a good boy." Mike, who had joined the table, commented, "I saw him that day of the call. He has character." Sophia nodded proudly. "He does." When lunch ended, Sophia returned to her work feeling different. Not just grateful for the opportunity, but deserving of it. It wasn't charity. It wasn't a favor. It was recognition of years of hard work, of silent dedication, of never giving up. At the end of the day, as she put her things in her assigned locker, another symbol of permanence, Sophia looked at herself in the small mirror she had taped inside. The woman looking back at her had wrinkles of fatigue, rough hands from years of hard work, but she also had brighter eyes than before, a firmer posture. She was the same woman who had entered the building months ago, nervous and scared, hoping to be invisible, but now she saw herself, and that changed everything. Weeks turned into months. Sophia's routine became natural, automatic. She knew every corner of the building, every difficult stain, every detail that required special attention, but more importantly, she knew the people. She learned the names of the executives who passed quickly. She knew who drank black coffee and who preferred it with milk. She knew which offices remained tidy and which were always a mess. And something curious began to happen. People started greeting her. It wasn't universal. Many still passed without seeing her, absorbed in their phones, in their concerns, but others stopped. "Good morning, Sophia. How are you? How's your son doing?" At first, Sophia responded with surprise, almost with distrust, but gradually she learned to accept these interactions for what they were, basic recognition of humanity. One morning, while cleaning the break area, one of the young executives approached her. "Excuse me, are you the mother of the boy who speaks German?" she asked. Sophia straightened up. "Yes, I am," the woman smiled. "My younger brother is in the same school. He told me about the presentation your son gave. He said it was impressive." Sophia felt her chest swell with pride. "He's a good boy. It's clear he had a good teacher," the executive commented. "Not many children value learning like he does." When the woman walked away, Sophia stood holding the cleaning cloth, feeling something warm spread through her body. It wasn't just pride for Liam, it was something deeper. It was the validation that all the effort, all the sacrifices, all the sleepless nights had been worth it. But not all moments were luminous. There were also dark days. One day, while cleaning near the executive offices, she overheard a conversation not meant for her ears. "It's obvious Daniel Thorne did this for image," a male voice said. "After the contract, he needed to look good." Another voice responded with a cynical tone. "Typical. They hire a permanent cleaning woman, give benefits to her son, and wash their hands, saying they're an inclusive company." Sophia felt her stomach clench. She froze behind the door, her heart pounding. "At least the kid seems smart," the first voice continued. "But how long will it last? These charity cases never end well." Sophia clenched her fists. She wanted to go in. She wanted to defend herself. She wanted to scream that they were wrong, but she knew she couldn't. She knew that giving them the satisfaction of seeing her affected would only confirm their prejudices. She took a deep breath, forced herself to calm down, and continued with her work. But the words remained stuck like thorns. That night, Sophia told Liam nothing. She didn't want to burden him with the weight of others' opinions. He already had enough with his own battles, but Liam noticed anyway. "Mom, are you sure you're okay?" he asked as they ate dinner. Sophia forced a smile. It was just a long day. Liam observed her with those eyes that seemed to see too much. "If someone says something bad to you, don't listen to them," he said. "We know the truth." Sophia felt her eyes moisten. "How did you become so perceptive?" "I had a good teacher," Liam replied with a small smile. It was an echo of what the executive had told her that morning. Sophia laughed softly, wiping her eyes. "I guess so." The days continued. Sophia kept working with the same dedication, with the same excellence, not to prove anything to anyone, but because that's who she was. Hard work was in her nature, in her bones. One Friday afternoon, Mike called her to his office. Sophia felt a moment of irrational panic. Had she done something wrong? Were they going to fire her? "Relax," Mike said, noticing her expression. "It's good news." Sophia breathed a sigh of relief. "What's happening?" Mike handed her an envelope. "It's your first quarter evaluation," he explained. "I want you to see it." Sophia opened the envelope with trembling hands. Inside was a document with various categories: punctuality, quality of work, attitude, teamwork. All categories had excellent marks. At the end, there was a handwritten comment. "Sophia has proven to be an exemplary employee. Her dedication and professionalism are an asset to the team. Recommend considering opportunities for growth." Sophia read the words twice, 3 times. She couldn't believe what she saw. "This is," she began, but her voice broke. Mike smiled. "It's what you deserve. You've worked hard, Sophia, and it shows." Sophia felt tears fall freely now. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me," Mike replied. "You earned this." When Sophia left the office, she held the envelope against her chest as if it were the most precious object in the world. In a way, it was. It was tangible proof that it wasn't charity, it wasn't a favor, it was merit. That night she showed the document to Liam. He read it carefully. Then he hugged her tightly. "I'm proud of you, Mom." Sophia laughed through her tears. "I'm supposed to say that about you. We can be proud of each other," Liam replied. They remained embraced for a long moment, 2 people who had struggled so much and were finally seeing the fruits of that struggle. That weekend, Sophia did something she hadn't done in years. She invited her sister for dinner, not in an expensive restaurant, but at her home, with food she prepared herself. But it was a luxury to be able to do it without counting every penny, without worrying if it would be enough for the rest of the month. Her sister arrived with flowers, a simple but significant gesture. When she saw Sophia's evaluation framed in the kitchen, her eyes filled with tears. "I always knew you were special," she said, hugging her sister. "But now the world knows it too." Sophia shook her head. "Not the world, just a few people, but it's enough." They ate, talked, laughed. Liam told them about his classes, about his new friends, about the German project he was working on. The house filled with voices, with joy, with life. When her sister left, Sophia stood at the door, watching her walk away. Liam stood beside her. "It was a good day," he commented. Sophia put her arm over his shoulders. "It was a very good day." The following Monday, Sophia arrived at work with renewed energy, greeted the guard by name, chatted briefly with the receptionist, went up to her floor with a firm step. In the cafeteria, Sarah was waiting for her with coffee. "I saw your evaluation," she said with a smile. "Mike told us." "Congratulations." Sophia smiled. "Thank you. You deserve it," Sarah continued. "You've worked like no one else." As they drank coffee, Sophia realized something. She wasn't alone. Not only did she have Liam, not only did she have her sister, she had colleagues, she had a team, she had people who saw her, who valued her. During her shift that day, Sophia worked with a renewed sense of purpose. It wasn't just a job, it was her job. It wasn't just a place, it was her place. Mid-afternoon, while cleaning near the offices, she saw Daniel Thorne talking with some executives. He noticed her and gave a brief nod. Sophia responded in the same way. No words were needed. That simple exchange said everything necessary. Mutual recognition, respect, understanding that both had done their part. At the end of the day, as she put her things away, Sophia looked around the locker room. Her name was on a locker. Her uniform hung clean and ironed. Her evaluation had been excellent. It wasn't a perfect life. There were still challenges, still difficult days, but it was a dignified life, a life she had built with her own hands, with her own effort. And that, Sophia thought as she closed her locker, was more than many had. She left the building with the sun still shining. Liam would be waiting for her at home, probably doing homework at the kitchen table. They would have dinner together, talk about their days, plan the future, a future that now, for the first time in a long time, seemed bright. Sophia walked towards the bus stop with her head held high, her shoulders straight. She wasn't the same woman who had entered that building months ago, scared and apologizing for existing. She was stronger now, someone who knew her worth, someone who wasn't afraid to take up space. And when she got on the bus and sat by the window looking at the city pass by, Sophia smiled because she finally understood something fundamental. She had never been invisible. She had only been waiting for someone to truly look. And now that they were, she was ready to shine. 6 months had passed since that day when a phone rang and changed everything. 6 months in which Liam had transformed his insecurity into confidence, in which Sophia had stopped apologizing for existing. 6 months in which both had learned something fundamental. Value is not given, it is recognized. It was Friday afternoon, and the school was holding its annual semester closing event. Liam had been selected to give a speech representing the new students. When he received the news, his first reaction was panic. "I can't do that," he told Sophia that night. "Speak in front of the whole school, in front of the parents, in front of everyone." Sophia looked at him with that expression he knew well, the one that meant she wouldn't accept excuses. "You already spoke in front of executives when you saved a multi-million-dollar contract," she said. "This is no different." "It's completely different," Liam protested. "That was on the phone. This is face-to-face with hundreds of people." Sophia sat in front of him. "Remember what I told you that time? It's not about being perfect. It's about being authentic." Liam sighed. "I remember." "Then just be yourself," she said. "Tell your story. Words that come from the heart always find their way." In the following days, Liam worked on his speech. He wrote version after version, each different from the last. Some were too formal, others too casual. Nothing felt right. One night, as he struggled with the words, Sophia entered his room. "May I see?" she asked. Liam handed her the notebook with frustration. "It's not working out." Sophia read in silence. Then she looked at her son. "You're trying to write what you think they want to hear," she said. "But what they need to hear is your truth." "And what is my truth?" Liam asked. Sophia closed the notebook and handed it back to him. "That's an answer only you can give." That night, Liam stayed up late. He closed his eyes and thought of his grandma. He thought of the afternoons at her house, the smell of her kitchen, the sound of her voice, teaching him words he never imagined he would use. He thought of his mother, working impossible shifts, sacrificing everything to give him opportunities. He thought of that day in the hallway when he had to decide whether to speak or remain silent. And then the words began to flow. The day of the event arrived with a clear sky. Sophia asked for permission from work to attend. Daniel Thorne personally approved her leave. "Go see your son," he told her. "This is important." When Sophia arrived at the school auditorium, she was impressed by the size of the place. There were hundreds of chairs, a large stage, professional lights. It was a completely different world from the one she knew. She sat in one of the middle rows, among other well-dressed parents who chatted about vacations and universities. Sophia wore her best clothes, but still felt out of place until she remembered her son's words. "I don't need to be like them, I just need to be myself." The event began with the principal giving a welcome. Then there were musical performances, academic recognitions, sports awards. Sophia applauded politely, but her heart beat faster as Liam's speech approached. Finally, the principal announced, "And now I would like to invite to the stage one of our new students, who will share some reflections with us. Liam Mendez." Sophia felt her heart jump to her throat. She saw her son go up to the stage, walking with measured steps. He wore a simple but clean shirt, pants she had carefully ironed that morning. They weren't expensive clothes, but they were dignified. Liam stood in front of the microphone. For a moment, he seemed to freeze. Sophia could see the panic in his eyes as he looked at the sea of faces in front of him, but then Liam took a deep breath and began to speak. "Good afternoon. My name is Liam, and 6 months ago, I didn't know if I belonged here." His voice trembled slightly, but he continued. "I come from a different place than many of you. My mom works in cleaning. We live in a small apartment where sometimes we hear the neighbors arguing through the walls. Before coming here, I went to a school where the books were broken and the windows didn't close properly in winter." Sophia felt tears form. Some parents in the auditorium shifted uncomfortably, but Liam didn't stop. "When I got here, I thought I'd have to hide that. I thought I'd have to pretend to be someone different. But my mom taught me something important. Origin doesn't define destiny, effort does." Liam's voice grew firmer. "I learned German with my grandma, not in an expensive school or with certified teachers. I learned it in a small kitchen, among pots and memories, because she needed to speak her language, so she wouldn't forget who she was. And I needed to listen to her so I wouldn't forget that the most valuable things don't always come packaged in luxury." Some parents began to pay more attention. The students were completely silent. One day, that language I learned out of love gave me the opportunity to help someone, and that help opened doors I never thought would open. But it wasn't the language that truly mattered. It was the attention. It was the dedication. It was not being afraid to use what I had, even if it wasn't perfect. Liam paused, searching for the right words. "Being here has taught me that privilege is not bad. Having resources is not bad, but ignoring those who don't have them, assuming that only certain people deserve opportunities, that is a problem." Sophia saw some parents nodding earnestly. "I'm not here to make anyone feel guilty," Liam continued. "I'm here to remind you that talent exists everywhere. Intelligence exists everywhere. Dedication exists everywhere. but opportunity does not. His voice was now clear, strong, without a trace of fear. So, to my classmates who come from families like mine, I say, don't be ashamed. Use your story as strength, not as an excuse. Work twice as hard if necessary, but never accept that you deserve less. He looked directly at the audience. And to those who have more, I ask, don't look away. Don't assume that people in humble jobs are invisible. My mom cleans offices, but she also taught me values that no money can buy. Dignity doesn't come with a job title. It comes from how we treat others. The silence in the auditorium was absolute. 6 months ago, a phone call changed my life, but not because I answered in German. It changed my life because someone decided to see beyond the obvious. Someone decided that potential matters more than packaging. Liam took a deep breath for his final sentence. All of you have the power to be that person for someone else, to see talent where others see limitations, to open doors instead of building walls. Because in the end, we won't be remembered for how much we had, but for how much we shared. He paused. Thank you for this opportunity. And thank you, Mom, for teaching me that I deserve to be here. Liam stepped down from the stage as the auditorium erupted in applause. It wasn't polite applause. It was genuine, enthusiastic applause. Some parents stood up, then more, until the entire auditorium was on its feet. Sophia cried openly now, not caring who saw her. Her son, that child who had carried so much on his small shoulders, had just spoken with a clarity and maturity that took her breath away. When Liam came down from the stage, he walked directly towards his mother. Sophia hugged him tightly, feeling his body tremble with adrenaline and relief. You did amazing, she whispered. I'm so proud. Liam clung to her. I couldn't have done it without you. They remained embraced as the event continued around them. Two people who had fought against everything to get there. After the event, several parents approached Sophia and Liam. Some to congratulate them, others simply to shake their hands. An elegant woman stopped in front of Sophia. Your son has a brilliant future, she said sincerely. And it's clear where that strength comes from. Sophia felt her face flush, but this time not from embarrassment, but from pride. Thank you, she replied with her head held high. Chloe ran towards Liam. That was the best speech I've ever heard, she said, excited. You made half the auditorium cry. Liam laughed nervously. I hope they were good tears. The best, she confirmed. As they left the auditorium, Sophia noticed someone waiting near the entrance. It was Daniel Thorne. He was wearing casual clothes, not his usual suit. Sophia was surprised to see him there. Mr. Thorne, she said, approaching. I didn't know you would come. Daniel Thorne smiled. I wouldn't have missed it, he replied. After all, I have some responsibility in this story. He turned to Liam. That speech was exceptional, young man. You spoke truths that many adults don't dare to say. Liam modestly lowered his gaze. I just said what I felt. That's exactly what made it powerful, Daniel Thorne responded. They walked together towards the parking lot. Daniel Thorne told them that he had closely followed both their progress. Sophia's evaluations, Liam's grades, everything had exceeded expectations. But that doesn't surprise me, he added. You always had what it took. You just needed the opportunity to prove it. Sophia felt something break inside her, but in a good way, like when a dam that has held water for too long finally opens. Thank you, she said, her voice trembling, for seeing us when we were invisible. Daniel Thorne shook his head. You were never invisible, Sophia. You were just in a system that didn't know how to look. That's the system that needs to change, isn't it? They said goodbye with a handshake, but before leaving, Daniel Thorne turned one last time. By the way, he said, we're implementing a scholarship program at the company for children of employees who demonstrate academic excellence. Liam was the inspiration. Sophia felt tears return. Really? Really? Daniel Thorne confirmed. Sometimes a story has the power to change more than one life. It can change an entire culture. When he left, Sophia and Liam stood in the parking lot, processing everything that had happened. Mom, Liam said after a moment, do you remember when you asked me if I did well? Sophia nodded. The day you answered the phone. Liam smiled. Now I know the answer. I didn't do well just by answering. I did well because I wasn't afraid to be who I am. Sophia hugged him again. That's the most important lesson of all. The following months brought more changes. Liam continued to excel at school, not only in German, but in all subjects. He became a volunteer tutor for students who had difficulties with languages. His patience and empathy made him exceptional in that role. Sophia, for her part, was promoted to shift supervisor. It was a small but significant position. Now she had her own small office, her own team, and she treated each member with the respect she herself had yearned for years. Sarah joked that she was the kindest boss she had ever had. Sophia replied that kindness didn't mean weakness, it meant remembering where you came from. 1 year after the day everything changed, the company organized an annual event for employees. It was the first time Sophia had attended anything like it. Daniel Thorne went on stage to give a speech about the year's achievements. "And I want to acknowledge something special," he said, looking among the audience. "A year ago, we almost lost a crucial contract, not for lack of capacity, but for lack of vision. An unexpected situation showed us that talent and value exist in places where we weren't looking." Sophia felt all eyes turned to her. "Since then, we have implemented important changes, development programs for all employees, regardless of their position, scholarships for families, language training, and most importantly, a culture that values every person, not just those in the upper offices." Applause filled the hall. "I want to especially thank Sofia Mendez and her son Liam for reminding us that excellence has no pedigree, it just needs opportunity." Sophia felt tears in her eyes, but this time she didn't hold them back. She let them fall freely as the entire room applauded. That night, back home, Liam and Sophia had dinner together as always, but the conversation was different. They no longer spoke of surviving, they spoke of dreaming. "You know what I want to do when I grow up?" Liam asked. Sophia smiled. "What?" "I want to create language programs for underserved communities," he said. "I want other kids like me to be able to learn, not because their parents can afford it, but because they have the desire." Sophia felt her heart expand. "Your grandma would be so proud." Liam nodded. "And you, Mom, what do you want to do?" Sophia thought for a moment. "I want to stay where I am," she replied. "But I want to make sure that no one on my team feels invisible. I want to be for others what Daniel Thorne was for us." "That's a beautiful goal," Liam said. They remained in silence for a moment, enjoying the simplicity of being together. "You know what's the craziest thing about all this?" Sophia said finally. "What?" "That it started with something as simple as a phone call? A moment that could have gone unnoticed changed everything." Liam reflected on that. "It wasn't just the call, Mom. It was everything that came before. The nights you worked, the times you sacrificed, so I could have school supplies, the afternoons with Grandma. All of that prepared me for that moment." Sophia felt tears again. "Sometimes we don't know we're preparing for something big. Maybe that's the point," Liam replied. "We must always be ready because we never know when our opportunity will arrive." 2 years later, Liam graduated from high school with honors. Sophia was in the front row, crying with pride. Daniel Thorne also attended, along with several colleagues from the company who had followed the story. When Liam received his diploma, the applause was deafening. But beyond the academic recognition, what truly mattered was the journey he had taken to get there. In his graduation speech, Liam spoke again about opportunities, about seeing beyond appearances, about the power of a person who decides to make a difference. "We all have a call to answer," he said. "Not necessarily in German, not necessarily in an office, but we all have that moment where we can choose between staying silent or speaking up, between hiding or showing ourselves, between accepting that the world is unfair or working to change it." His words resonated in the auditorium full of graduates and families. "I chose to speak," he continued. "My mom chose to keep fighting when it would have been easier to give up, and someone else chose to see our worth when no one else did. Those choices changed our lives." He looked directly at the audience. "What will you choose?" The applause that followed was thunderous. Years later, Liam would fulfill his promise. He created a foundation for language education for marginalized communities. Sophia continued in the company, eventually becoming an operations manager, and Daniel Thorne expanded his opportunity programs to other companies. But the most important thing wasn't the titles or the achievements. It was the silent change that occurred in hundreds of lives. The people who were seen when before they were invisible, the talents that were recognized when before they were ignored, the doors that opened when before they were closed. Because in the end, this wasn't just the story of a boy who answered a phone. It was the story of what happens when someone decides to look beyond the obvious, when someone chooses dignity over indifference, when someone understands that human value is not measured by job, title, or bank account, but by heart and effort. Sophia and Liam never forgot where they came from, but they also didn't let that define how far they could go. And somewhere, in a place beyond time, Grandma Elka smiled, because the words she had taught her grandson in that small kitchen not only preserved a language, they preserved a connection, a memory, a legacy that would end up changing lives. Sometimes the biggest things begin with the smallest gestures. A grandma teaching words, a mother working in silence, a child answering a phone, and a man deciding to see. That's all it takes to change a life, or perhaps to change the world.